King Arthur and His Knights, Chapter 1, Part 2. Lo, father, this is the sword of the stone, and surely am I rightful king. Sir Ector knew the sword and marveled, but his look was stern as he gazed into the crafty eyes of his son. Come ye with me, he said, and all three rode to the church and lit from their horses and went in. Sir Ector strode up the aisle to the altar, and turning to his son, said sternly, Now swear on God's book and the holy relics how thou didst get this sword. Sir Kay's heart went weak, and he stammered out the truth. How gat you this sword? Asked Sir Ector of Arthur. Sir, I will tell you, said Arthur, and so told him all as it had happened. Sir Ector marveled what this should mean, for Arthur had been given to him to nourish and rear as a week-old child by Merlin, but the wizard had only told him that the babe was a son of a dead lady, whose lord had been slain by the pagans. Then Sir Ector went to the stone and bade Arthur put back the sword into the wedge of steel, which the young man did easily. Thereupon Sir Ector strove with all his strength to draw the sword forth again, but though he pulled till he sweated, he could not stir the sword. Now, essay it, he said to his son, but not that Sir Kay could do availed. Now you try, he bade Arthur. Arthur lightly grasped the handle with one hand, and the sword came out without hindrance. Therewith Sir Ector sank to his knees, and Sir Kay also, and they bared their heads. Alas, said Arthur, my own dear father and brother, why kneel ye so to me? Nay, nay, my lord Arthur, it is not so, said Sir Ector, for I was never your father. I wot well ye are of higher blood than I weened, for Merlin delivered you to me while yet ye were a babe. The tears came into Arthur's eyes when he knew that Sir Ector was not his father, for the young man had loved him as if he were his own blood. Sir, said Ector unto Arthur, will ye be my good and kind lord when ye are king? Ah, if this be true as ye say, cried Arthur, ye shall desire of me whatsoever ye may, and I shall give it you. For both you and my good lady and dear mother your wife have kept and loved me as your own. Sir, said Sir Ector, I crave a boon of you, that while you live, your foster brother Sir Kay shall be high seneschal of all your lands. That shall be done, and never man shall have that office but him, while he and I live, replied Arthur. Then hastily Sir Ector rode to the archbishop and told him how and by whom the sword had been achieved from the stone. Thereupon the archbishop let call a great meeting on the 12th day of all the kings and barons. So on the day appointed, all men gathered in the churchyard of St. Paul's, and the tent was removed from about the stone. From day dawn to the evening, the kings and princes and lords strove each, in his turn, to draw the sword from the stone. But none of them availed to move it. While they stood about, dark of look, gnawing their lips with rage and disappointment, the archbishop turned privily to Sir Ector and bade him bring Arthur. The young man came, quietly clad in a tunic of brown samite, of medium height, with curly hair about a fair face, of noble, though mild mien. As he came among the richly clad nobles, they looked haughtily at him, and wondered who he was and why he came, for as yet none had been told that the sword had been drawn by him. The archbishop, tall, white-haired, and reverend, called Arthur to him and said in grave tones, My son, I have heard a strange tale of thee, and whether it be true or false, God shall decide. Now, therefore, do ye take hold upon this sword, and essay to draw it from the stone. The proud barons, some with looks amazed and others with sneering laughter, pressed about the young man as he stepped toward the stone. Arthur took the handle of the sword with his right hand, and the sword seemed to fall into his grasp. Thereat arose great cries of rage, and angry looks flashed forth, and many a hand went to dagger haft. "Ho, Archbishop!" cried King Lot, fiercely striding toward the tall ecclesiastic. "What wizard's brat are you foisting upon us here to draw the sword by magic?" "'Tis a trick!" cried Nentries of Garlot, his bluff manner falling from him, and all the savage anger gleaming from his eyes. "A trick that shall not blind men such as we." "Who is this beggar's boy that is put forth to shame us kings and nobles?" said King Mark, and his hand sought his dagger as he disappeared among the crowd and wormed his way toward where stood young Arthur. But Sir Ector and Sir Kay, seeing the threatening looks of all, had quickly ranged themselves beside young Arthur, and with them went Sir Bedivere, Sir Baudwin, and Sir Ulfius, 3 noble lords who had loved King Uther well. "Peace, lords," said the old archbishop, calmly meeting the raging looks about him. "Ye know what words are about the sword, and this youth hath drawn the sword. I know naught of tricks or wizardry, but I think high heaven hath chosen this way of showing who shall be lord of this land, and I think this young man is rightful king of us all. 'Tis some base-born churl's son that the wizard Merlin would foist upon us," cried the barons. "We will have none of him. A shame and dishonor it is so to try to overrule us, kings and lords of high lineage, with an unknown youth," cried others. "We shall have the sword put back and set a watch over it," cried King Uriens, "and we shall meet here again at Candlemas and assay the sword. And at that time, my lord archbishop, thou shalt do the proper rites to exorcise all evil powers, and then we will try the sword once more." So it was agreed by all, and 10 knights watched day and night about the stone and the sword. But it befell at Candlemas, as it had befallen at Twelfth Day, that for all their strength and might, none of the kings or barons could draw forth the sword. But in the hand of the unknown Arthur, the weapon seemed to fall. Whereat they were all sore aggrieved and rageful, and resolved that they would have yet another trial at Easter. It befell at the feast of Easter, as it had befallen before, and this time the kings and lords, for angry spite, would have fallen upon Arthur and slain him, but the archbishop threatened them with the most dreadful ban of Holy Church. They forbore, therefore, and went aside, and declared that it was their will to assay the sword again at the high feast of Pentecost. By Merlin's advice, the young Arthur went never about unless the 5 friends of Uther were with him. That is to say, Sir Ector and his son Sir Kay, Sir Bedivere, Sir Baudwin, and Sir Ulfius. And though at diverse times men were found skulking or hiding in the horse stall, the dark wood by the hall, or the bend in the lane, in places where Arthur might pass, no harm came to him by reason of the loving watch of those noble knights. Again, at the feast of Pentecost, men gathered in the churchyard of St. Paul's, and the press of people was such that no man had ever seen the like. Once more, the kings and princes and great barons, to the number of 49, came forward, and each in turn pulled and drew at the sword and the stone until the sweat stood on their brows. Nevertheless, though the sword point was but the width of a palm in the stone, not the mightiest of them could move it by the breadth of a hair. King Mark of Tintagel was the last of them who had to stand back at length, baffled and raging inwardly. Many were the evil looks that would have slain Arthur as he stood among his friends. Then a cry came from among the common people, and so strong was it that the nobles looked as if they hated to hear it. "Let Arthur draw the sword," was the call from 1,000 throats. The venerable archbishop came and took Arthur by the hand and led him toward the sword. Again the young man held the rich pommel with his single hand, and that which none of the 49 great men could do, he did as easily as if he but plucked a flower. A fierce cry leaped from among the thousands of the common people. "Arthur shall be our king!" they cried. "Arthur is our king! We will no longer deny him!" Many of the princes and barons cried out with the commons that this was their will also. But 11 of the most powerful and ambitious showed by their arrogant and angry gestures that they refused to own Arthur as their lord. For a long time, the uproar raged, the cries of the common folk becoming fiercer and more menacing against the counter-cries of the 11 kings and their adherents. At length, from among the people there came the governor of London, who, in his rich robes of office, leaped upon the stone where but lately the sword had been. "My lords, I speak the will of the commons," he cried, and at his voice all were silent. "We have taken counsel together, and we will have Arthur for our king. We will put him no more in delay, for we all see that it is God's will that he shall be our king, and who that holdeth against him we will slay." With that, he got down from the stone, kneeled before Arthur, put the keys of the city in his hands, and rendered homage unto him. The great multitude kneeled likewise, bowing their bare heads, and cried him mercy, because they had denied him so long. Because they feared the great multitude, the 11 kings kneeled with them, but in their hearts was rage and rebellion. And I think we'll pause here and we'll continue with this story in the next video. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.